presidency, some in the media have made a daring and dark comparison, comparing President Trump to Hitler. He was even accused of, quote, following Hitler's playbook to divide the country.
This as a shocking new study finds many Americans don't even know basic facts about the Holocaust. In fact, 41% of Americans and 66% of millennials don't know what Auschwitz was.
Oh, that is shocking.
That is shocking.
Here to react, Harvard Law Professor Emeritus and the author of The Case Against Impeaching Trump, Alan Dershowitz. Professor, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time. Those numbers are jarring.
They are absolutely jarring.
How do we get to those numbers?
Well, it's remarkable how little history people know and how little they're prepared to learn about something as tragic as that. And the result is these false analogies all over the place. Everybody's compared to Hitler. Everybody's compared to the Holocaust. Israel defending itself against Gaza rockets. Oh, they're Nazis. You know, anybody who compares Trump or anybody else to Hitler essentially is a Holocaust denier. Because what they're saying, well, there were no gas chambers, there was no Auschwitz, there was no plan to kill 6 million Jews.
They minimize it by default.
By default. By comparing it, they minimize it. 1 million children, babies and children were killed. People were brought in from all over the world. They were brought in from the Isle of Rhodes on boats to Auschwitz to kill them. It wasn't enough to kill the people who were in the way. They had to bring them in because the goal was a massive genocide of everybody who had any kind of Jewish blood. To say that anything that happened since then is comparable to the Holocaust, and certainly to compare the American political system to anything that happened in the Holocaust is just outrageous.
Well, the American taxpayer invests a lot of money in public education. Where is this going on? What's happening? Who do you think is to blame for this kind of cultural ignorance, historical ignorance?
Well, first of all, there are all kinds of programs that people are promoting to teach the Holocaust in schools. Not only to teach the Holocaust, but to teach the Holocaust and other forms of horrible experiences that people had. That should be encouraged. That should be encouraged in schools all over the country. Look, the Friends School in New York, here, the Friends School in New York invited a Holocaust denier to come and play his saxophone or whatever he was playing. We see it happening all over. Holocaust denial is minimized today, and these analogies that people draw is the cruelest form of minimization of the Holocaust.
How much impact does this terrible education have on the political, ongoing geopolitical debates about the state of Israel and the Israeli-Palestine peace process? All of these things, effectively, if you don't know the past, it's pretty tough to make a critical judgment about the current.
Well, sure. And, you know, you can disagree with something Israel did or something the United States did, but the immediate go-to is Nazis. Yeah. The immediate go-to is...
Or apartheid state.
You know, apartheid or you know, genocide or the Holocaust. And, you know, what it does is it not only shows ignorance of the past, it precludes us from being subtle and nuanced. You can criticize what Israel, what the United States, what other countries in the world, Russia, are doing without making those kinds of false analogies. The false analogy is so historically inaccurate and so, you know, clearly affecting the current debate, and it has to stop. And students have to know what happened only 70-something years ago.
I took my son to Auschwitz last year, and he was a 17-year-old senior at the time, and he hadn't heard that much about it. But once you go and visit, and you see that, you see the room full of hair, or the eyeglasses, or the shoes, or anything like that. It's so clear what took place. I was a history major in college. For me, it was really clear. But my son, seeing it, that sort of drove it home. What do we need to do for our young people?
There was one really brave Palestinian who built a museum of the Holocaust in Palestinian territory to teach Palestinians that there's no comparison between what they're experiencing and what happened in Auschwitz and Treblinka. Look, I made a point of taking each of my 3 children to the death camps and showing them, where our family came from. Our whole family, aside from my grandfather's branch of the family, was killed. We went to the town where they were killed. We saw the story of a 16-year-old girl and a 15-year-old boy who were murdered in cold blood, and that really has an impact. And it makes you want to prevent anything like that from happening in the future. And it's so important for young people to be exposed to this.
You don't have to go to Auschwitz.